Sabra, it's great to be on.
Just on that last story, is Clive Palmer still a fit and proper person to be in Parliament?
Well, really, that's a question for his electorate, and I'm certain they will have a very harsh view on how things have transpired. I hope Mr Palmer is being straight with everybody about how he acted. My thoughts are with the 550 employees. They're the people we need to look after. It goes beyond the sort of unnecessary colour of Mr Palmer to the lives and futures of those people. We are considering now the guarantee, for their entitlements guarantee. If that is paid out, it'll be the biggest payout, Sabra, in Australian history. So let's try and make sure we treat these people with respect. Mr Palmer, he can speak for himself, I think.
Yeah, so those workers are owed something like $74 million. If the company is liquidated, they'd be very lucky to get half. So the federal government's going to make up the difference?
Well, look, I'm not going to make the call for another minister, mind you. We are considering that report right now. And we are very aware of the issues of North Queensland, very aware of the concerns that are happening throughout the Bowen Basin and throughout the mining industry. And Mr Palmer, unfortunately, was a very unnecessary additive to the hurt that is happening there. We've got to make sure that we look after their jobs, their future, and we are considering the report now.
Okay. The government's decided to push ahead next week with the abolition of the Road Safety Tribunal when Parliament's recalled. Have you got the numbers?
Yeah, the Road Safety Tribunal, that's a euphemism. What this is a mechanism to put mum and dad operators in the trucking industry, where they're furniture removalists, cattle operators. I was talking to one the other day, the Maggie Welsh from Katingal. These people need to be treated with respect, and this is yet another catastrophe of the Labor government, the Green Independent Labor government from the previous form that came forward with this policy that is driving these mum and dad operators out of the industry. They are going broke, Sabra. They are going broke under this legislation, and we must do everything in our power to fix it. It is the transport operators' iteration of the live cattle trade.
The government has made that point several times over recent days, and in fact, only 48 hours ago, the government said it would push to freeze this pay deal, and then it would seek a mandate to push ahead with the abolition of the tribunal if it was re-elected, but now there's been a change of heart to get rid of it straight away. Why the change of heart? Because
we listen to the people who come into our office, Sabra. We listen to the people who have been contacting us. We listen to Laurie's Transport at Manila. We listen to Welsh's Transport at Katingal. We listen to Jacobs Transport in Inverell. We listen to people, and they are saying quite clearly to us that we need to do something about this, and we need to do it as quickly as possible. So as soon as we get back to Parliament, we'll be immediately going about the process of trying to make sure that these people stay in a job.
Have you got the numbers?
Now, that is a question really for the Labor Party, for the Greens who brought this in the first place, and the Independents who brought this in the first place.
You're the government. You've got to get the numbers to get this through.
We'll definitely get it through the lower house, Sabra. Don't you worry about that. Where we have to worry about it is where we'd run into the Labor, the Greens, and other independents, sometimes the same people who brought this in the first place. And we've got to have our discussion with Senator Nick Xenophon, who was part of this when it first came in, and say, look, really and truly, this is a catastrophe, and you can go and see the hurt on these people's faces, and we know that we must act immediately. I'm doing everything in my power to make sure that we bring this as quickly as possible to a conclusion, so that these people can get back to work. I mean, it's just mad. They did it with the live cattle trade. They've done it with mum and dad owner operators, and then the next iteration is their housing policy, which is the rental version of the Hindenburg waiting for a match.
The Treasurer says a Royal Commission into the banks is reckless. By extension, then, that your Nationals colleagues who support this idea, are they reckless?
Well, what we have already, you must get proper discovery. But we have APRA and we have ASIC. They have greater powers, actually, than a Royal Commission, because a Royal Commission can only discover the evidence and then present it to another body for prosecution.
Sure, but
if you want something to happen immediately...
The question I asked, are your colleagues reckless by saying that this is a good idea or the option should still be available?
If you want something to happen immediately, I wouldn't be going to a Royal Commission. The only people who are the beneficiaries of that are the solicitors. It goes on for years. If there are issues that need to be dealt with and dealt with immediately, ASIC and APRA have the powers of discovery. They also have the powers of prosecution, and that is vastly more than a Royal Commission has. That is why we want to get the ABCC, the Australian Building Construction Commission, back into the buildings, into the building trade, so we can get the building sites, so we can get better oversight there. That is why we fight for these things. So areas where there are bodies that can do the job, we don't need a Royal Commission. In areas where that has been removed, then that's another question.
Okay, well, on your point about ASIC, the ASIC chief, Greg Medcraft, today seemed to be pleading for more money, and he indicated that the ASIC's proactive investigations had really been curbed given the funding cut it copped in 2014. Are you looking to boost its funding again?
Well, if we were, Sabra, that'd be something that goes through the Expenditure Review Committee, which I'm
met
on.
Today.
That's right, I'm on it, and that would be disclosing by omission or confirmation what is happening in the Expenditure Review Committee, and I don't intend to do that. He quite clearly, though, and he is correct in the point that ASIC has the powers to deal with this. ASIC has both the investigatory powers and also has the capacity to prosecute, and it can do it right now. You don't need to have a whole sort of rolling Royal Commission because we already have a body that can deal with this.
Okay, the Prime Minister's off to China tomorrow, meaning you're acting Prime Minister from tomorrow night. What stance will the Prime Minister need to take in China to encourage more Chinese investment in property while not wanting to stoke sort of sensitivities back home about increased foreign investment?
Well, it's a culmination of a week where we're encouraging investment between our two countries. They're worth about $150 billion to us, Sabra, so it's incredibly important. They're our largest trading partner. In the agricultural sector alone, they're at $9 billion. This is nearly double what they were in 2010. We've got the free trade agreement through with China. We are doing everything in our power to make sure that we get more business. There's about 1 million tourists a year that come from China, and this money is what helps underpin our economy and keeps our people in work. Now, I want to make sure that we do that. We want to do it always on our terms, Sabra, always on the terms of making sure we look after our people and our people's interests. But we must trade. We must trade to survive because we just don't have the population ourselves to sustain the standard of living that we all expect in our hospitals and our schools. There's got to be somebody somewhere else buying our product, and China is the largest country that does this.
Deputy Prime Minister, thank you for joining us from Perth tonight.
You're welcome, Sabra.